Good morning, everyone. I ask that you please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, oh, so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we lost were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets that blare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner give way? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. I invite you to join with me in a spirit of prayer and reflection. Gracious source of all that is true and good and beautiful, we gather to honor those who have served our country and given of their time, their talents, and even of their lives, so that we may be here and prayerfully reflect in freedom. Remind us that our gifts are secured by those willing to sacrifice to ensure future generations continue to know life in a free and democratic society. Grant that our reflections today honor those who made that choice, as well as the many more willing to do so if called upon. May the remembrance of these sacrifices made prompt us to seek justice, foster freedom, and pursue the ways of peace. May we honor their service to the nation by being ourselves sources of blessings to all its people and to all humankind. Amen. Good morning and welcome to our Veterans Day observance. The history of Veterans Day stretches back to 1918. In that year, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in the First World War, then commonly known as the Great War or the War to End All Wars. Commemorated as Armistice Day beginning in 1919, November 11th became a legal federal holiday in the United States in 1938. In the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, Armistice Day became Veterans Day, a holiday dedicated to remembering the service and sacrifice of American veterans of all wars. And today, I give thanks for you for gathering to remember those who have led in service to their country and its ideals. Veterans Day is never a political day. Rather, it is an opportunity to recognize service. Service to country, never politics or party, and more importantly, to that country's ideals. Those of freedom, equality, the right to speak and believe as we so desire, liberty in thought, word, and deed, and to pursue happiness, not of the fleeting sort, but the enduring, of contentment in stable homes with those we love and in communities that foster our improvement. Many of those who gather here today are veterans themselves or have personal connections to veterans. They may be part of their families, their neighbors, their school friends. And to you we say thanks. But for many of us gathered also, it is a time where we do not know as many veterans in our lives. And I encourage you this day not to simply reflect on the past service and the idealized image of veterans, but to seek out those veterans in your community, find them, support them, know them. It's my honor now to introduce Charlene Elvers, Director of Center of Service and Leadership.
Thank you for making the trek down to the center. This center opened in the fall of 2021, and actually the grand opening was on this day last year. The purpose of the center is to support and connect students who are veterans and students who are connected with the military either through their families or through the ROTC program. We certainly also welcome all faculty and staff to connect with this center in whatever way you would like. We recognize that these students bring unique experiences and perspectives to Springfield College, and our hope is that this space provides a physical location to gather and to meet with others who may bring a shared experience. The center is open Monday through Friday and is staffed by a graduate student, Logan Large, who is also a veteran. And unfortunately, he could not be here with us today. I now get to introduce our speaker. Anthony Tony Moody is an educator and leader in higher education with over 22 years of experience. Tony has a broad and balanced educational background, holding degrees as diverse as engineering and fine arts. He has served in the Massachusetts Air National Guard for over 28 years, fighting in both the Kosovo War and the 2003 invasion of Iraq. He currently holds the rank of Major and is the Director of Complaints and Resolution and Inspector General and Ombudsman at the 104th Fighter Wing in Westfield, Massachusetts. That's impressive. Director of Complaints, not something I he has extensive training in public affairs, communications, and information technology. He's been the CIO at Springfield College in Springfield, Massachusetts for over 3 years. During the pandemic, he implemented drastic changes to the college's aging IT infrastructure and software to allow a variety of new approaches to teaching and learning. He is currently leading a 24-month migration to a new visionary SaaS ERP environment. Tony brings to his teams exceptional planning, enthusiastic leadership, solid communication skills, and insightful strategic mindset, unquestionable character, purposeful optimism, responsible rebelliousness. I'm going to steal that one, actually. Valuable analytical expertise and an empathic and collaborative management style. He is also a very kind and generous man. That last sentence is mine. Thank you, Tony.
Let's hope the technology works. So start off, good morning. I'd like to thank all the veterans here and everyone else who's come to show your support. It's an honor to participate in today's Veterans Day celebration, especially here at Springfield College, where leadership and service is a fundamental guiding principle of our Humanics philosophy. Before I begin, what follows are my thoughts and my opinions, so I want to make sure you understand that nothing I say represents any official policy of the United States Air Force, the DoD, or the U.S. government. With that out of the way, today we recognize our Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and Space Force veterans who have sacrificed both in war and in peace to protect America and the ideals we cherish. As a citizen airman, a member of the Air National Guard, I'm honored to count myself among the ranks who have served proudly and distinctively in every major combat our nation has faced for nearly 4 centuries, and in a military that's been completely volunteer for more than 47 years. More than 12 million, currently there are less than 17 million veterans in the United States. More than 12 million are over 65 and less than 1.4 million are under the age of 35. A veteran is an ordinary and yet extraordinary human being, a person who offers some of their lives' most vital years in the service of our country, and who sacrifice their own ambitions so others would not have to sacrifice theirs. It's a calling that most veterans I know would do over and over again. Because veterans pray for peace daily, because they know, like no other citizen, what kind of burden war carries. It was already said that on November 11th, we designated this day, it was already said November 11th was designated as the day to honor the veterans of World War I. Years later, it became the day to honor all veterans. We don't mark this day each year as a celebration of victory, but but rather as a celebration of those who made victory possible. It's a day during which we keep in our minds the brave people of this young nation, generations of them, who above all else believed and fought for a set of ideals. We keep the story of their sacrifice alive through remembrance. Since this day's conception, it has been commemorated with a moment of silence. That silence punctuates the air and focuses everyone's attention on the service our veterans across the world and across the country take part in. And those veterans encompass many different kinds of people who serve our country in many diverse ways. They represent the best of America. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you now to pay your respects for our veterans with a brief moment of silence to honor all the moments, days, and years that our veterans and their families have served and sacrificed for our nation. Thank you. Each veteran's journey is unique, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about mine. I'm the third generation to serve. Both my grandfathers were in the Army in World War II, one in the Pacific and one in Europe. My father was in the Air Reserve and Air National Guard for 28 years. All four of my brothers have served, with two making distinguished careers in active duty. My amazing wife, Shelley, who couldn't be here today because she's running around with the kids to all their Veterans Day events. But she will complete her 26-year active duty career early next year. Clearly, a tradition of military service is strong in my family. For me, a life of service started with education. I enlisted when I was 17 for a very selfish reason. I wanted to go to college, and I couldn't pay for it. The Massachusetts Air National Guard offered a pathway, one that I assure you has gotten better over time. However, my initial 6-year enlistment changed me. Instead of being a means to an end, it was the beginning of a journey of self-discovery. This know-it-all teenager had learned how to be a follower and was beginning to learn how to be a leader. After my first experience with war in Kosovo, I found a deeper understanding of service. I recognized in me the kinship and camaraderie that develops among those who serve in the military. The oath I took to defend the Constitution of the United States against the nation's enemies, foreign and domestic, transcended mere words. I believe in the ideals of this country, despite its imperfect execution. The fundamental principles outlined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are worth striving to realize and fighting to keep their hope for fulfillment alive. I've been to war twice with my youngest brother, Tim, my two friends, Ken and Mark, and my wife. There is something that those who serve see in each other, something you understand about each other, whether it's the scars, both mental and physical, of preparing for war, the constant vigilance of preparing for things you hope never happen, or the actual fight. It's an understanding of the complex sacrifices that are required to protect our nation. Over the next 12 years of my career, I followed both excellent and imperfect leaders, learning from each. With poor leaders, I found opportunities to become an informal leader, picking up the slack, honing my skills, and helping my organization succeed. Eventually, it was time for me to take on a formal leadership role. I was commissioned as an officer with 18 years of enlistment experience. And yes, I went back to basic training a second time. It wasn't that bad, and I have some good stories, but another time. Being an officer has proved much more rewarding than my enlistment. I've had the opportunity to mentor and lead outstanding airmen. I've had the chance to shepherd many careers and achieve many personal successes. One of them was graduating as the distinguished graduate from Public Affairs Officer School. That's because it doesn't come natural to me. My default state's a little introverted, and ironically, I'm not really fond of public speaking, probably because I'm a little nervous. But I believe that true growth, for true growth, you need to operate on the margins of your ignorance and your comfort zone. The most transformational moments of my career happened shortly after returning from Public Affairs School. I was at my civilian job when I received the call to come in immediately because a plane and pilot had gone missing. I was only a second lieutenant, fresh out of school, but the only one available, so the public affairs response was mine to lead. When the time was not a luxury and emotions were high, I was able to apply all the training and discipline with precision in that moment when it was needed. At that hour, I found myself both prepared and qualified. Unfortunately, our brother was lost in a tragic accident that day and will be forever missed. But that experience and that test, I developed a greater confidence and for the first time accepted that leading people was my purpose. Shortly after, I developed my leadership philosophy, something I encourage all of you to do, that my success is grounded in supporting the best in others. I continue to serve because I deeply love the people of this country. I love the people I work with, for, and support. I believe in the best version of the ideals this country stands for, and I feel connected to something more significant. I see my country's imperfections as challenge we can overcome together, and in some small way, I can contribute to shaping and leading that change. As a member of the Air National Guard, I'm going to take the liberty of sharing some of the unique sacrifices the National Guard makes for this nation. The last 3 years have marked an unprecedented and historic response for the National Guard. National Guard members supported every combatant commander around the globe and met the governor's request for assistance here and at home, despite a pandemic, record wildfires, and named storms. This was the highest level of National Guard support to our nation since World War II. As I speak, more than 20,000 Guards members are standing a post overseas. Unique to the National Guard is our ability to apply training and equipment from our combat mission to aid in the response efforts to man-made and natural disasters at home. National Guard soldiers and airmen logged more than 21 million days serving our community in 2020 and 2021. Despite the inherent dangers, Guard members left their homes and families to help their communities and neighbors recover from devastating homeland events, whether it was wildfires in California, tornadoes in Kentucky, or a hurricane in Florida. Just last fiscal year, the Guard members provided more than 450 million meals to neighbors, distributed more than 345 million pieces of personal protective equipment, and administered more than 14 million vaccinations across 50 states, 3 territories, and the District of Columbia. Just this week, the National Guard was activated in over a dozen states to protect election infrastructure from cyber threats. President John F. Kennedy said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Living by the values set by their predecessors is a standard that veterans continue to embrace to this day." Even with the unprecedented call-ups, the members of the Air National Guard remain at their core part-time soldiers, but full-time members of the community. When they take off their uniform, they fill the roles of business partners, bosses, teachers, city councilors, first responders, coaches, and role models. Still, serving this country and their community with the same sense of duty and honor. In closing, on this Veterans Day, I stand in the company of millions of great people. Those large and small contributions continue to protect and influence this last great experiment. George Washington acknowledged in 1790 that our country was not absolutely perfect, but was one of the best in the world. Our sons and daughters continue to answer the call to support and defend our nation and freedoms by serving around the globe whenever and wherever needed. Whether you wear the uniform today or decades ago, you represent fundamental truths of American Armed Forces, the truth of patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice. For all those who have served in the past and present, we salute you today and every day. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies are ever waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife.
More than self, their country love, and mercy more
our cities gleamed, undimmed by human love. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Before we close, I invite you at the end of the ceremony to take a flag in honor or remembrance of those who have served. I also invite you to come inside if you have a chance. We have some refreshments inside. It's an opportunity for those of you who may not have been in the Veterans and Military Services Center to visit and acquaint yourself with it. And finally, back at the Campus Union today, the Student Alumni Association is creating cards for veterans and those currently serving. So if you have a chance, please stop by and create a card for them. Please join with me in a spirit of prayer. O eternal Judge of the nations, we remember before you with grateful hearts the men and women of our country who, on the day of decision, ventured much for the liberties we now enjoy. Grant that we may not rest until all the people of this land share in the benefits they secured of true freedom, liberty, and the right to pursue happiness. Grant peace in spirit, mind, and body to all that served in this world and the world to come. Amen. Thank you.